Welcome into OutKick, the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday, wherever you may be across this great country or this great nation. We got a lot to dive into today. A little bit of housekeeping right off the top. I will be live immediately after the debate tomorrow. So the moment the debate ends, I will be live with you. We'll be ready to roll. Should be a lot of fun. And so you can prepare for all of that and be on your way. The minute that it ends, boom, I'll be right here talking to all of you. I'll have my trusty yellow legal pad right here. And I will be breaking down everything there is to say and or do. Then, no shows for the July 4th week on OutKick. Going to do Clay and Buck Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will be down at the beach celebrating July 4th. Be back after that. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping. If you're wondering where I am, that is what will be going on. It is debate eve. I'm going to talk a little bit about the debate. I'm going to talk about Jamaal Bowman getting smoked. Schlossnagle, the head coach of Texas A&M, going to Texas. Pretty crazy story there. Nashville viral girl videos. Bronny James. Tonight is the NBA draft, right? I believe I'm correct about that. Biden's Ghostwriter and the Supreme Court ruling, all those different things. But I want to begin here by telling you there is a new poll out from Quinnipiac. They do regular polls, Quinnipiac does, and it is very good news for Trump. Has Trump up by 4 points head-to-head, which is the biggest lead he's had in the Quinnipiac poll. Has him up by 6 in a multi-candidate field, which is becoming even more substantial when you break that down. And I went in and I shared it, and you can go see it yourself. Trump is the crosstabs. How are voters being broken down here? And I want you to all be able to see this. And so I'm going to share you some of the details. Okay, what are the numbers? Trump is winning men, according to this Quinnipiac poll, 59 to 37. That is a plus 22 margin. That is pretty staggering. And the only reason this is even close is because women are voting for Biden plus 13. So women by a 13-point margin are voting for Biden. Honestly, it's got to just be abortion. Women are single-issue voters on abortion based on this poll. I mean, but it's a state issue now. So, I mean, are these women just that uninformed? If you really desperately care about abortion, you're right, that can be your number one issue, then you should be super active in your state. You should be saying, hey, who your governor is matters, who your state legislative member is. I understand that if you want to be a single issue voter on that. Again, I'm not a single issue voter. I don't think anyone should ever be, by and large, a single issue voter. I think you should weigh the issues that matter most to you. Certainly everybody has an issue that matters the most to them. I understand that. I'm not rejecting it. You should rank the issues that matter the most to you. But the idea that you would pay no attention to any other issue and be like, only thing I care about is this, everything else is secondary, I don't get. But even if that's you, abortion's not a federal issue anymore. I mean, I understand that Biden is trying to make it one because he's losing on every other issue. But women, listen, every state now sets its own abortion policy. The federal government has no impact on abortion. That's what Roe v. Wade said. Hey, we're going to send it back to the state. Blue states, California, New York, Illinois, they actually have even more abortion rights than they had before Roe v. Wade. Red states have less. If you disagree with that, advocate on a local level. That's your right. The actual number of abortions has grown since Roe v. Wade was overturned. This whole idea, we're going to be living in a handmaid's tale, doesn't make any sense. A lot of people are not very well informed on this issue, it seems to me, presuming that it's abortion-based. Otherwise, what do you think Biden's done a good job of, women, that would have you voting plus 13 for him? All right, some more crosstabs. Not a surprise. Republicans and Democrats both overwhelmingly support their nominee. Independents, Trump up 10. Interesting. That's a very good sign for Trump. Again, I said men plus 22, women plus 13, college. 4-year college degree, 60 to 37 for Biden. It's just a cult. Right? Biden hasn't done a good job. No college, 69 to 26 for Trump. So that's that. You break it down further based on age. And I love these crosstabs. I love this data. 18 to 34-year-old voters, Biden only has a 2-point lead. That ain't good for Joe Biden. Only a 2-point lead for Joe Biden in voters 18 to 34. Voters 35 to 49, Trump has an 11-point lead. This is Gen X, baby. I'm barely a member of Gen X by 8 months. I'm 45 years old. Well, I guess it's Gen X and older millennials, right? People who have kids and are buying homes as a group, overwhelmingly supporting Trump by 11. Then you have 50 to 64-year-olds supporting Trump by 10. So 35 to 64-year-olds support Trump by 10 points or more. This is surprising to me, and I kind of hinted at it on Clay and Buck the other day. Biden supported by 65-plus voters by 3 points, according to the Quinnipiac poll. That is older voters more likely to support Biden than Trump. Trump doing better with young voters than would be expected. Biden doing better with older voters. White men, 66 to 29 for Trump. 66 to 29. White women, dead even. So white men, basically, if you're a white dude, you're 70 to 30 effectively voting Trump. White women, dead even. For college-educated white people, 18-point lead. Sorry, this is not college-educated. White people overall voting for Trump by 18. Black voters voting Biden 76 to 19, which is not good for Biden. If black voters break even 20%-ish for Trump, there's no math that allows Biden to win the race. So that's why they're going to try to gin up racial controversy. And then Hispanic voters breaking for Biden plus 10, according to this Quinnipiac poll. Again, all that data, very, very interesting. You can dive into it. You can believe it. You cannot believe it. Also, polls coming out from the Washington Post today saying that Trump leads in Nevada, in Arizona, in Georgia, in North Carolina, and in Michigan, dead even in Pennsylvania, and a small lead for Biden in Wisconsin, which makes me ask, what's going on, cheeseheads? That doesn't really compute because in 20, the closest Midwest state was Wisconsin. There's a lot of movement there if that poll is accurate. Everywhere else, except Biden's in a little bit better shape in Wisconsin, that doesn't add up. Just worth thinking about. Jamaal Bowman, New York 16th Congressional District, got smoked last night by George Latimer. Overwhelmingly, the voters in New York in this district, which was a small part of the Bronx and then into Westchester, which is a wealthier area, nearly a 20-point loss for Jamaal Bowman in his Democrat primary. Lauren Boebert, by the way, wins in a new district in Colorado. She's going to stay in Congress. But what does this tell us about the situation for Jamaal Bowman? First, I think he would have lost even if there hadn't been a lot of pro-Jewish voter money coming in on this race, because Jamaal Bowman pulled the fire alarm. He said a lot of ridiculous things, and he hasn't done a very good job advocating for his congressional district. But even in the wake of that ridiculous AOC Bowman rally, which I think probably cost them votes more than it helped them, this also is a sign that you can't make Twitter happy. Twitter is not a real place. I share my opinions. You guys can go argue on it, X, whatever you want to call it. It's not a reflection of the real world. Jamaal Bowman, 360,000 followers. George Latimer, 6,000 followers. Latimer kicked his ass. That's because Twitter doesn't reflect the real world opinions. And I think this should be an alarm bell going off. Jamaal Bowman refused to condemn the Hamas attack. He's a member of the squad. He's tried to run a far left-wing political campaign, and he has failed. This is an overwhelming slap in the face to him as it pertains to this issue. Again, smoked in the 16th district in New York. So big win, I would say, for sanity. Big loss for insanity, a.k.a. the squad. All right, let's talk about also, you may have just heard us talking with Congressman Jim Jordan on Clay and Buck. Tomorrow, he said they're going to hold the Biden ghostwriter in contempt for refusing to turn over the evidence that Biden had classified documents, the recordings, the transcripts, everything else. I've said from the get-go, this Biden ghostwriter tried to destroy all the evidence of Joe Biden's criminality as soon as the Robert Hur investigation started. There is evidently audio of Joe Biden bragging about having classified documents and sharing them with his ghostwriter. The ghostwriter tried to destroy the evidence. How in the world is he not being charged with a crime? I believe he needs to be hauled in front of Congress, made to raise his right hand, and testify under oath about the classified documents that he saw, Biden's discussions of them, and why in the world there haven't been any prosecutions there, and why he's refusing to turn over all the evidence of that issue as well. Okay, several other much less, I got one more serious issue here. The Supreme Court totally dropped the ball on its ruling surrounding government censorship relating to COVID. They tried to argue that there was a standing issue here and that as a result, there was no major First Amendment violation. I think the Supreme Court totally bombed on this, particularly Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and John Roberts, that led to a 6-3 decision, which did not call into question any decision-making of the Biden administration during COVID. One of the most sacrosanct rules of First Amendment jurisprudence is you cannot allow the government to deputize actions that it itself could not otherwise undertake. That is, the United States government cannot stop me from saying whatever I think about political related issues. That would be a violation of the First Amendment, which is our most important right. But also, the United States government cannot deputize a third party to take away my speech rights, because that would be an attempt to avoid First Amendment responsibilities by using a third party to do what the government is not permitted to do. It's exactly what happened in this case. And most of these cases, the Supreme Court justices are going to understand the world in which they're analyzing a case much better than I can. This is not one of those cases. I am a lawyer who also has run a media company. I testified under oath for Jim Jordan and his committee back in 2021 about this. I understand and have experienced the power of big tech in media better than almost any lawyer in America, because most lawyers don't own and run media companies and have not seen the direct impact of what those algorithms can do to a business. I wrote about it in here. I included my testimony in this book. The marketplace of ideas is sacrosanct in American life. The idea, which undergirds the First Amendment, is that the more of us who talk and the more of a discussion we have, the better results we reach. That means that lots of people can say all sorts of things that I disagree with and make their arguments. I can listen to them. I can respond. I can make my own argument. And the idea that is the collective public then has a better and more informed basis upon which to make determinations in the law. That is the entire purpose of the marketplace of ideas. What happened here was the Biden White House decided they didn't want certain accounts to be able to be featured on social media platforms and threaten those platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, among others, that if they did not restrict the distribution of other people's opinions, there would be consequences for the social media companies. In fact, Jen Psaki herself actually said directly that in a White House briefing. There are lots of emails saying this as well. Supreme Court said the people who were curtailed did not have standing because there was no direct act by the government. What that means is the government has been given a clear pathway to censor through third parties as much as they want. This is a profoundly wrong decision. And it also continues, unfortunately, the reality of the COVID era, which is no one is paying any price for being wrong on everything. They shut down your schools. They shut down your businesses. They shut down the places you want to worship. They shut down your parks. They shut down your public areas. They took rims off your basketball hoops. They took the nets down in your tennis courts. They filled up skate parks in California with sand to keep kids from skateboarding outside. They wouldn't let you take a hike. They wouldn't let you go to the beach. All of the people that said that, none of them have suffered any consequence at all. None of them. And worse than that, now the Supreme Court has told the government, you do not have to be restrained in your censorship at all when you are interacting with big tech companies. The Supreme Court had an opportunity to create a guideline, to create a principle, to create a future Supreme Court ruling that would cover future pandemics, future crisis situations that might arise, and demonstrate that even in times of crisis, the First Amendment did not shirk from its powers and its constitutional liberties. Instead, they have emboldened censorship and encouraged future administrations, Democrat, Republican, Independent, party that is not yet created, that might rise to power in the years to come, to be able to curtail all of our liberties, doing through third parties what they themselves cannot do themselves directly. It's a profoundly wrong decision. I'm very disappointed in Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, and Brett Kavanaugh. I don't think they understood the situation well enough to render a verdict that should have occurred. Okay, less serious stories out there to close out today's show with. Jim Schlossnagle, the head coach of Texas A&M, very successful head coach of the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies baseball team. I guess it was Monday, in the immediate aftermath of the University of Tennessee winning the College World Series, was asked about whether he might be leaving for Texas, and basically attacked the journalist who asked that question. Less than 12 hours later, news breaks, courtesy of Chip Brown, later confirmed by others, that Texas A&M's baseball coach, Schloss, was going to be leaving for Texas, their absolute brutal rival. This is a debilitating body blow to Texas A&M. I don't begrudge people for taking more money. You've heard me say on this show that I am a capitalist. That doesn't mean that you should always take more money. I have turned down jobs. I've turned down my company sell to people who offered more money because I didn't think it was the best pathway going forward. So just chasing more money is typically not the best way to build a career. But I don't begrudge people who do so. I will say, what is the benefit to Schlossnagle from not simply saying after the game, hey guys, I don't want to get into the future right now. We had a hell of a season. We absolutely dominated for all season long until we ran into the University of Tennessee. They got a great team. This team has a lot to be proud for. And in the future, I think we'll be even prouder. But right now, it really hurts. and I'm not thinking about what the future impact of our legacy will be or what future jobs I'm going to have or what future jobs our players are going to have. Right now, we're just dealing with the aftermath of this game. In the future, we can discuss the future. Aggie fans were still going to be mad, not only because he's leaving, but because he's leaving for their bitter rival right as that bitter rival enters into the Southeastern Conference. So I don't think there was some magic pill that was going to make Aggie fans say, hey, you know what? We'll let bygones be bygones. We don't really care about the fact that our head coach, who's been incredibly successful and just almost won our first national championship since 1939, well, he's going to our bitter rival. Oh, we're fine with it. I don't think this would have played well no matter where. Alabama's coach leaving for Auburn or vice versa. Ohio State's coach leaving for Michigan or vice versa. It's never going to play well. We almost never see this. For a head coach to leave and go to coach the bitter rival of the other school without there being some interregnum job. Remember how much of a story it was for Rick Pitino back in the day? Pitino had a national championship at Kentucky, left, went and took over the Boston Celtics, didn't have tremendous success there to my recollection, then came back to college basketball and took over in Louisville, and Kentucky fans lost their minds because of that betrayal. To go not only back to college basketball, but to go to your bitter in-state rival was considered an unprecedented act of betrayal. But Pitino actually had a job between those jobs. Now, I'm not justifying it, but at least there was a job between them. Here, Schloss is going directly from one rival to the other with no job in between. This is going to turn into, already Texas A&M is a brutal, bitter rivalry. This is going to turn into one of the most bitter rivalries in all of sports. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when A&M hosts Texas next season, as I presume they will, as a part of the college baseball battle. And even in Austin, it'll be nasty. I can't believe he did this. A couple of other thoughts. Remember, loyalty in sports almost doesn't exist. People are going to take almost uniformly whatever the most money is, no matter what. That is the reality. Okay, you probably have seen the Nashville girl go viral for her Hawk Tua answer about oral sex on a Broadway interview at night. I believe it was at night. This video is everywhere. This interview, this girl has gone super viral. There's no telling how much money she's going to end up making from it. This is, to my mind, and the team back in our studio in Nashville can correct me if I'm wrong. This is, to my mind, the third super viral Nashville girl interview that has propelled the interviewee into substantial fame on social media. And the three that I'm thinking of are Bachelorette Party Girl, who showed up on NFL Draft a weekend, NFL Schedule Release Girl for the Tennessee Titans, and now Hawk Tua Girl. I think of the viral videos, and I've watched them all, and they all are funny. I still think the Nashville Bachelorette Girl is the funniest of the three videos. And when we clip this and share it, we'll clip each of those little videos and give you a snippet in case you missed them. But the Nashville Bachelorette Girl was very upset a few years ago because she came to Nashville for her bachelorette party and wasn't aware that Nashville was going to be hosting the NFL Draft that same weekend. So she was furious because she thought, hey, I'm going to be on Broadway. I'm going to be running around with just a bunch of girlfriends. And instead, the entire downtown of Nashville was taken over by the NFL Draft. And she was angry that that was influencing and impacting in a negative way her bachelorette party. I thought that was really good. Okay? So that by itself was, I think, the best of the Nashville viral video girls. Second best, I actually thought the girl who didn't know any of the NFL logos for the Titans review was also very good. And the Titans brought her back to do this year's schedule review. I thought it was funny. It didn't feel staged. And that, to me, is the second best Nashville viral girl video. I'm not opposed to the Hawk Tua girl. Didn't think it was as good as the Bachelorette and the NFL schedule reveal. Adam tells me that everybody working back in the Nashville studio could not think of another super mega viral girl on the street interview bigger than any of those three. That is my power rankings of the Nashville girl interviews on Broadway. Just continues for those of you out there who wonder. When I was younger, we used to jokingly call Nashville Nash Vegas. Say, hey, you going out in Nash Vegas tonight? And the idea was that it was kind of Las Vegas-like. It's not a joke anymore. Broadway downtown in Nashville is like the Strip now. And we used to own a bar. Garth Brooks' bar, I was part of the ownership group of. We sold it to Garth Brooks. The value of Nashville real estate has skyrocketed. It is unbelievable how much money has been made on those locations. It's like the Las Vegas Strip now. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what time of day or night you go, it's packed. I used to live downtown before I moved out to where we live now. And when my kids were young, I would occasionally jog to my studio in downtown Nashville where I did the radio show from. When we were in the evenings, when we were in the afternoons, sometimes I'd be like, hey, I'm going to get an exercise. I'll jog to the studio, and then I'll jog back home. It's probably like a 2.5, 3 mile jog each way. Weather's good. Hey, I'll jog there, and then I'll jog back. I didn't do it a ton. And I would jog through downtown Nashville. I hate jogging, by the way. But when I was training for the half marathon, I lived downtown in Nashville. I would go jog, and I'd run down Broadway, and I'd run through all those areas. You can't even jog there anymore. The sidewalks are so packed that you can't even easily jog because there's people in your way at all hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter the day of the week anymore. That's how crazy it's become. So I would bet on more Nashville viral girl videos from down there. Finally, the NBA draft begins tonight. I believe they've now broken it into 2 days. It's only 2 rounds. I don't know why they're breaking it into 2 days. But the big question out there is where I think the first 2 picks are expected to be French. There's obviously a lot of international draftees. Many people out there don't know many of the players, which is why it's kind of hard to get psyched. Used to be you knew all the players because they were all coming from college basketball, and the international draftees were not that common. Now I think the first 2 picks are expected to be French. Maybe Reed Shepherd is going to be the first college player. I've seen a lot of different mock drafts. I care about Dalton Knecht, who I think is ready to play right now. I think somebody's going to get a very good player in him. I think he has elite athleticism, ability to score everywhere. I told you he is the best, in my opinion, Tennessee basketball player that we've ever had. And I've watched Tennessee basketball my whole life. Better than Allen Houston, better than Marcus Haislip, or I was not alive for Bernard King playing there, but best scorer, best player. And I expect him to be like, 7th or 8th pick based on what I've seen from the draft. But the number one story appears to be, is Bronny James going to get drafted? And on Polymarket, it's a 96% chance that the answer is yes. LeBron James' son, Bronny, is not one of the 58 best players in the NBA. He's getting drafted in the draft. He's getting drafted because of who his dad is. That's it. And I can't remember a time when we have seen nepotism like this. It's perfect that it's LA and Hollywood because there's lots of nepotism in acting. There's lots of nepotism in all sorts of media, in politics certainly, but I can't remember anybody getting drafted in the first or second round based entirely on their last name and who their dad is. Now, there are people who get jobs in sports because their dad's the owner, because their dad's the GM. Certainly has happened. There are brothers that have gotten jobs. Giannis's brother may have a job because Giannis is so good. They can stack him on the end of the bench to make the star happy. But I don't believe we have ever seen something like this happen where a player gets a job entirely based on whether or not his dad is a star athlete. It's the next level. It should be a bigger topic. Nobody's willing to even discuss it because they're worried about LeBron James being mad at them. LeBron James, man, he does an awful lot of things that he claims to hate. Super left wing, fancy pin. What was it? The lapel pin. Oh, I'm so sad Hillary lost. LeBron James using his power and influence to get his son a job that his own talents would have never justified him getting. Should be a big topic. We've never seen it happen to my knowledge before when it comes to actual athletes, father and son, not brothers, not business, not media, not movies, not any other industry, drafting somebody because of who their daddy is. LeBron James, super left wing, feels like when you complain about climate change, and meanwhile you're flying around in your private jet. I'm Clay Travis. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, I'll be live immediately after the debate tomorrow, breaking it all down for you right here on OutKick the show. I'll see you all then.